Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Nissan GT-Rs. So I hope you enjoyed the video and watch till the end, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell button to get notified on my upcoming videos, and don't forget to hit the like button too. So let's begin. The first GT-R Skyline appeared in February 1969, called the PGC-10. For a later coupe version, it was called the KPGC-10. Intentionally, name was changed to Hakosuka by fans. Hako means box in Japanese, and Suka is short for Skyline. It used the 2-liter 1998cc S20 inline 6 engine. This new DOHC engine, which was designed by the former Prince engineers, produced about 160 horsepower and about 130 pounds of torque, and was similar to the GR8 engine used in the Prince R380 racing car. The GT-R began as a sedan, but a two-door coupe version was debuted in October 1970 and introduced in March 1971. The cars were stripped of unnecessary equipment to be light as evenly possible for racing, and performed well at the track. The sedan racked up 33 victories in less than 2 years, and the coupe stretched this to 50 victories through 1972. The C10 raced against many cars, including the Toyota 1600 GT, Isuzu Ballet GT-R, Mazda Familia or the R100, and Capella or the RX2. In the late 1971, the new Mazda RX3 became the GT-R's main rival. The GT-R managed a few more victories before the RX3 ended the GT-R's winning streaks. The second GT-R on our list is the C110. The C110 generation was produced from September 1972 through August 1977 for export in the 1970s. The C110 and GC110 Skyline was sold as a Datsun K series models, with models such as the Datsun 160K, 180K, and the Datsun 240K. The body styles were once again 4-door sedan, 2-door hardtop coupe, and a 5-door station wagon. The C110 was more fussy, so in wagon form, were unusual for a wagon design. No windows were fitted between the C and D pillars. Its appearance seems to be influenced by the 1970 to 1975 Citroën SM. The C110 was the first version to return to the rear tail and brake lights introduced in 1963, albeit with dual units from the previous generation, and the appearance has become a traditional Skyline feature. The styling also influenced a smaller, more affordable two-door coupe called the Silvia, introduced in 1975. Nissan introduced its emission control technology, primarily considering of fuel injection on trim packages ending with the E. Using the moniker Nissan NAPS. NAPS meaning Nissan Anti-Pollution System, also in 1975. In February 1976, the model was facelifted and became the C111 model. The C110 Skyline was better known as the Ken and Mary or Ken Mary Skyline, stemming from the advertised campaign in Japan at the time, which featured a young couple, Ken and Mary, who relaxed and enjoyed the countryside in the Ken and Mary's Skyline. The ads were highly successful, and perhaps as a result, the C110 sold in a very large numbers in Japan. Ken Mary was also a play on the term Mercan, an old Japanese slang term for American, due to the resemblance of the American muscle cars at the time. It sold just as well in Australia. In a 2.4-litre six-cylinder form, badged as Datsun 240K. There, the 240K was about the same price as a Ford Falcon GT or BMW 5 Series, around 5,000 Australian dollars. The Skyline GT-R hardtop arrived in September 1972, but only lasted until March 1973, when Nissan ceased its production. The oil crisis saw many people preferring economic cars, and high-performance sports cars were being looked down upon. Nissan pulled out of motor racing, so there was no purpose to the GT-R. It was not officially exported anywhere, although Nissan contemplated exporting to Australia. Only 197 kp GC110 GT-Rs were ever sold in Japan. Through specialist Nissan performance shops, before it was called Nismo, this was the last GT-R for 16 years until the BNR 32 in 1989. Fifth generation, or our third Nissan GT-R or Skyline. The succeeding C210 series of August 1977 continued to split the Skyline range into basic 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder models. The latter with no longer wheelbase and front end. This line continued through August 1981. A rare variant would be the wagon version, which had a unique styling treatment behind the rear doors, of a much smaller window than usual between C and D pillars. The Skyline received an internal and external facelift in the late 1978, which led to the change of the model code 210 to 211. This was also when the Skyline first appeared in several European export markets, such as Germany. The GT-EX replaced the discontinued GT-R with a turbocharged engine, the L20ET, as installed in the recently renewed Nissan Cedric and Gloria. This had been the first turbo engine to power a Japanese production vehicle. One notable aspect of the turbo version was that they were not intercooled, and there was no form of blow-off valve, only an emergency pressure release valve. As unusual with Japanese cars of this period, there were 4 or 5 speed manuals and 3 speed automatics, with a column-shifted 3-speed manual available on a lower-end cars and vans. The lowest powered option was the 2-liter LD20 diesel fitted to the Skyline van 200D. It produces about 65 PS at 4600 RPM. The T designated on the L16T and L18T does not signify a turbocharger. It was included. It denotes that those engines came with twin carburetors. The L series engines were all switched to the cross-flow Z series in late 1978, although the L16 soldiered on a little longer in the commercial versions. The larger 2.4-liter inline-six was never offered in domestic Japanese market, having been reserved for export. Export engines were rated in DIN horsepower. So while a Japanese spec L24 promised 130 horsepower, European market cars with the same engine only claimed about 111 horsepower. On the other hand, European buyers could also get the fuel-injected L24E with 127 or 130 PS DIN, about on par with what the turbocharged GT-EX offered. Originally marketed as the Datsun 240K GT in Europe, the fuel-injected version was sold as the Datsun Skyline in most markets where it was available. It has a claimed top speed of 186 km/h or 116 miles per hour. In June 1980, the 2-liter fuel-injected inline-4 Z20E engine was added to the lineup, as well as the 2.8-liter straight-six, 8-liter straight-six GT diesel with 91 PS. Our fourth GT-R on the list is the R30. The names were brought into the line with the home Japanese and worldwide markets with the launch of the R30 series in August 1981, which was built on a C31 Larue platform. Unlike preceding generations, 4 and 6-cylinder versions now share a front end of the same length. The R30 was available as a 2-door hardtop coupe, a 4-door sedan, and a 5-door liftback, available only in the R30 generation, or a 4-door station wagon. In all, there were 26 variants of the R30 Skyline available. All versions, with the exception of the wagon, were usually fitted with the 4 round taillights that had become a regular feature to the Skyline design. The wagon had different taillights, headlights, and no turbo or 6-cylinder versions available. It more closely resembled a Nissan Sunny than a Skyline. The 2-door coupe had a hardtop, pillarless design and featured roll-down quarter windows for the rear seat passengers, a styling feature of the previous C10, C110 and C210 coupes, while 4-door versions had a traditional sedan body style with framed windows. The crease that appeared over the rear wheels beginning with the second generation, referred to as the Surfline, no longer appeared starting with this generation. Various engine configurations were available, initially ranging from the top of the line 103 kW SOHC 6-cylinder turbo L20ET to the 6-cylinder Z18S and 6-cylinder LD28 diesel versions at the other end of the scale, the all-new 16-valve DOHC FJ20 engine debuted in late 1981 and was the first four-cylinder engine from any Japanese manufacturer to employ more than two valves. Some of the top spec models featured adjustable suspension dampers that could be adjusted while driving. This was another first or mass-produced JDM vehicles. Nissan Glorious and Laurus also used the L-series engines, as well as some diesel Lorella-only variants. The R30 range was facelifted in August 1983 with various changes across the board. For example, four-wheel disc brakes were now standard issue instead of being optical for lower spec models. Trim specifications were revised and the four-cylinder Z18S was replaced with the newer CA18E. Features included upgraded interior trim, new front and rear bumpers, door-mounted wing mirrors, replacing the old hockey stick fender mirrors, and smoke taillights. During 1983, the Paul Newman version R30 was released to commemorate the association between Nissan and the actor Paul Newman, who used to appear in promotional material as well as race for the company during late 1970s and early 1980s. The Newman's Skyline was simply a stock-spec GT-ES turbo with significant embossity and decals. Export markets also received some larger, a bit less powerful engines in the form of 2.4 and 2.8-liter inline sixes with Hitachi double carburetors, producing 120 PS or 139 PS, and 2.8-liter engines were added in September 1982. Although making about the same power as the L20ET powered GT-ES models, the versions of the Skyline, initially known as the 2000 RS, was released on October 1981 as more of a stripped-down lightweight racer without as many luxury extras included. These were equipped with the naturally aspirated 4-valve per cylinder DOHC FJ20E engine, generating 110 kilowatts and 150 PS and about 148 horsepower at 6000 rpm and 133 pounds of torque at 4800 rpm. The official Nissan class designation for all FJ20 powered models was DR30. In February 1983, the DR30 range received a significant boost in performance with the introduction of the turbocharged FJ20ET engine in the 2000 RS turbos. Front brakes were also significantly upgraded to come with the power increase, now with 188 horsepower at 6400 rpm and 166 pounds of torque at 4800 rpm on tap. The FJ20ET enjoyed newfound prestige as the most powerful Japanese production engine of its era. Nissan sought to elevate the status of the DR30 Skyline as their new flagship model in light of its success and distinguish it from lesser Skyline models in August 1983. Interior equipment was significantly upgraded to now include electric windows, air conditioning, and power steering was standard in the new RSX models. For extra, with an increased curb weight of around 1,235 kilograms or 2,723 pounds. It also included a driver's seat with multi-way power lumbar adjustment, anti-skid control, fog lamps, rear deck spoiler, and other features such as dimmable instrument cluster lighting. Gone were the days of the Spartan, stripped out of cluster lighting. Gone were the days of the Spartan, stripped out racer interior, although this could still be specified at the time of price. But by far the most striking change to the RS was the new unique front-end treatment nicknamed Tekaman or Iron Mask by fans for its distinctive look. The headlights were considerably slimmer, and instead of a conventional grille on the hood now sloped down to two narrow slits above the face-lifted front bumper and air dam. Further enhancements were made in 1984, most notably the addition of an air-to-air intercooler, allowing the compressor ratio to be increased from with revised turbocharger exhaust housing to the FJ20ET powered model, increasing output to about 202 horsepower of the power at 6,400 RPMs and 181 foot-pounds of torque at 4,400 RPM. The intercooled model was nicknamed the Turbo C, formed the basis of the super silhouette race car built by the GT-R works and sponsored by Tomica and run in all Japanese sports car prototype championship under FIA Group C regulations. An automatic transmission option was also added in 1984. Changes to the plasma spark ignition system found in early ignition system followed in early 1985 towards the end of the R30 production. To this day, the F2J20 powered R30 Skyline remains a cult car both at home and overseas, and credited rejuvenating the Skyline brand in the early 80s. It also paved the way for the eventual reintroduction of the GT-R badge, markedly absent since the end of the C110 Skyline production in 1973. Our fifth Skyline or GT-R is the R31 Skyline. The R31 Skyline of 1985 was a natural evolution on the R30 shape, and also this one was loosely based on the Laurel platform, the C32 platform. The design was slightly larger and squarer than previous Skylines. It was available as a sedan, hardtop sedan, coupe and station wagon, affectionately known as the Seventhus or simply Seventh Sukarin by owners due to being the 7th generation Skyline. The R31 Skyline introduced many new technologies and features. The HR31 was the first Skyline to be equipped with the new RB series of engines. The HR31RB engines are more often referred to as red top engines because of the red cam covers. There were 3 variants. The earlier series of DOHC 24-valve RB engines used the NICS Nissan Induction Control System injection system with 12 very small intakes and a butterfly system to divide the intake ports in half for better low RPM performance. Engine management discarded the 12 tiny runners for 6 much larger ones. Though the cylinder's head still retained 12 individual intake ports separated by casting, and received a slightly larger turbocharger. Nissan's RD28, a 2.8-litre straight-six engine, featured for a diesel option. Another technological first for the R31 was the introduction of Nissan's priority 4-wheel steering system, dubbed HiCAS, High Capacity Active Steering. The R31 series were also the only models in the Skyline family to feature a 4-door hardtop variant. These models were generally packed as a Passage GT. The R31 Skyline was also produced in Australia. 3-litre motor, the RB30E, available in sedan or wagon form, as well as a 4-cylinder version called the Nissan Pintara. The wagon had the same front style as the coupe and sedan, the only difference being that it lacked the 4 round brake lights, and that had been a consistent element of Skyline designs except for the R31 series. There is 1 2 which had regular taillights with a solid bar through the center, which was also shared by the Pintara. These cars were manufactured in Australia due to heavy import laws, which made it expensive to bring cars to Australia. About 29,305 R31 Skylines were manufactured and sold in South Africa in a 4-door sedan form between 1987 and 1999. These were the last Skylines seen in South Africa. Power came from either the RB30E, the 3-litre straight-six engine, the RB20E, 12-litre straight-six, or the KA20S 4-cylinder power plant. The R31 Skyline were also sold in some Middle Eastern countries such as Kuwait and Oman, sold in sedan or coupe form. It was available with either a carburetor or fuel-injected versions of the RB30 3-litre straight-six engines. This was the final generation of the Skyline to be sold officially in the region until it was reintroduced later with the 11th generation under the Infiniti brand. GT-SR. The ultimate version of the R31 was the RB20DETR powered HR31 GT-SR Coupe, of which 823 units were ever built to allow an homologation evolution mode for Group A touring car racing. Introduced in late 1987, it had a reworked version of the normal RB20DET with a much larger turbocharger on a tubular steel exhaust manifold, as well as a much larger front-mounted intercooler. It had a factory-claimed maximum output of 210 PS or 207 horsepower, with racing versions making over 430 horsepower. In Group A trim, though this was still at least 110 horsepower less than the leading Group A car of the time, the Ford Sierra, the RS 500, which had approximately the same weight as the Nissan and around 70 horsepower less than the heavier V8 Holden Concorde. Jim Richard and Mark Scaffey drove a Gibson Motorsport prepped Skyline GT-SR to win the 1989 Sandown 500 in Australia. Richards also used the GT-SR in 6 and 8 races to win the 1990 Australian Touring Car Championship. He used the R32 GT-R in the final 2 rounds of the series. It was the first Australian Touring Car Championship victory for a Nissan driver, after George Fury placed second in 1983 and 1986, and Glenn Seton gained second position in 1987. The 6th GT-R that we are going to talk about is the R32 Skyline. Debuted in 1989. It was available as either a 2-door coupe or a 4-door hardtop sedan. All other body styles were dropped. The R32 featured several versions of the RB series straight 6 engines, which had improved heads. The 12-port inlet was gone and used the ECCS, Electronic Concentrated Control System, injection system. Also available was an 1800cc 4-cylinder GXI model. Most models had high-cast 4-wheel steering, with the rear wheels being hydraulically linked to the front steering. The 2.5-liter GT-SR25 became one of the first Japanese production cars to feature a 5-speed automatic transmission. The GT-ST came in standard and Type M configurations, with the Type M having a larger 5-stud 16-inch wheels, 4-piston front calipers, and twin-piston rears, plus other mirror differences. ABS was optional, except for the GT-R and the GT-S4. Mechanical LSD was standard on the GT-R, and Ambitious LSD was standard on all turbo models and optional on all but the GXI. Nissan also produced 100 Australian models of the R32. In addition, there was a 4-wheel drive version of the GT-ST Type M called the GT-S4. This generation was considered a compact under Japanese legislation that determined the amount of tax liability based on exterior dimensions. The smaller engines were offered so as to prove Japanese buyers the ability to choose which annual road tax obligations they were willing to pay. The station wagon body style was discontinued and would not see a replacement until 1996, by which point the R33 had arrived. The 7th GT-R that we are going to talk about is the R33 Skyline. The R33 Skyline was introduced in August 1993. Slightly heavier than the R32, it was again available in a coupe and a sedan body configuration. The R32 was the safest of the models, with a rating of 3.8 out of 5.5 accordingly. The airbag systems and internal crash bars made this vehicle significantly safer than previous models. All models now use the 6-cylinder engine. Nissan took an unusual step of downgrading the GTS model to have only the RB20E. This was mated to either a 5-speed manual or an optional 5-speed automatic. The twin cam unit of the R32 GT was discontinued, and the twin cam unit of the R32 GTS was discontinued, and so was the 2-liter turbo RB20DET from the GTST. This was replaced with the GTS 25T, which was equipped with the larger RB25DET and mated to the either a 5-speed manual or optional 4-speed automatic. The 5-speed auto was not used as it wasn't strong enough for the extra horsepower. High-CAS was standard in all GTS 25T submodels except the Type G. The 8 GT-R that we are going to talk about is the R34. In May 1998, the HR34, ER34, ENR34 and BNR34 marketed the introduction of the more fuel-efficient and environmentally friendly RB25DET Neo engine. The RB20E engine was discontinued in the R34 base model GT, and the RB20DE, after last being used in the R32 Skyline, was reintroduced in the updated Neo guise. The R34 GT, powered by the RB20DE Neo, occupied by the RB20DE Neo, and coupled with a 5-speed gearbox, became the most fuel-efficient straight-six Skyline to date of any shape. The 4-speed automatic transmission was available on some models, was retained, and was upgraded with Tiptronic style manual controls. And export market 25GT Turbo Coupe variant, often abbreviated as GTT, was sold in Singapore and Hong Kong from 1998 to 2000, while the facelift 25GT Turbo was sold in New Zealand between 2001 and 2, alongside the GT-R V-Spec. These were only 3 countries outside of Japan that sold R34 25GT Turbo model. Skyline's new all-Japanese Nissan print store. These were the only 3 countries outside of Japan that sold the R34 25GT Turbo model. Skyline's new all-Japanese Nissan price store locations that sold the Skyline were renamed Nissan Red Stage. Nissan introduced 2 new models for the base vehicle, the 25GTX and the 25GTV. The 25GTX was only available as a sedan and included optional extras over the base model 25GT and 25GT Turbo, such as tinted rear windows and pop-up LCD display that replaced the triple cluster on the turbo models. Another version, the 25 GTV, was naturally aspirated variation powered by the RB25DE, came standard with the upgraded 4-piston front and 2-piston rear Summit Torch calipers, limited slip differentials and 17 alloy wheels only found on the turbo models. In August 2000, the R34 received a facelift which changed the front bumper to a new sleek design, and xenon headlights were standard across the entire range, along with side airbags built into the driver and passenger outer seat bolsters. For the interior, pedals were changed from rubber to aluminium, while the gear shift knob and steering wheels were now made of genuine leather and in a two-tone design. The latter, branded the Skyline S badge, was opposed to Nissan the Skyline's S badge was opposed to the Nissan logo. The center console and dials now had an iridium silver appearance. Previously, they were a gunmetal grey look. Optional exterior extras for the R34 included exterior area, which consist of redesigned front and rear bumpers, side skirts, and a wrap-around spoiler on the rear, which was only available for a coupe. Optional tooling. Nismo parts for the R34 included shock absorbers, a variable sport exhaust system, aluminium intercooler, sway bars, oil cooler, and limited slip differential. These exterior extras can be converted the car to a modded faster car, and any enthusiast or anyone can install an RV26DETT engine to convert their particular Nissan Skyline into a BN R34 edition, as it's the particular engine that powered the R33 GT-R models as a production-made move. And last but not least, the latest version of the GT-Rs, the Nissan GT-Rs or the R35 GT-R. The Nissan GT-R is a car built by Japanese marque Nissan since 2007. It has a 4-seating layout and is considered both a sports car and a grand tourer. The engine is front mid-mounted and drives all 4 wheels. It succeeds the Nissan Skyline GT-R, a faster variant of the Nissan Skyline. Although this model was the 6th generation to bear the GT-R name, it is no longer part of the Skyline lineup. The car is built on the PM platform, delivered from the FM platform used in the Skyline and Nissan Z models. Production is conducted in a shared production line at Nissan's Tochigi plant in Japan. As per Nissan's intentions of creating a world-beating sports car, the GT-R brand received as part of the Nissan's rival plan. Overall development began in 2000 following 7 years of development and testing, including the introduction of 2 concept models in 2001 and 2005. The production version of the GT-R was unveiled at the 2007 Tokyo Motor Show. The GT-R was a brand new car built on the PM platform and featured innovation concept and technologies such as advanced aerodynamics, the VR38DE TT engine and active suspension system, and ASUS ETS Pro all-wheel drive system, making it the first ever rear-mounted independent transaxle all-drive vehicle. It is one of the first production cars to feature launch control and a dual-clutch transmission as well. The overall body is made out of aluminum, steel, and carbon fiber. In 2009, it set a record, fastest accelerating four-seater production car. The GT-R is offered worldwide, unlike its predecessors, which were sold in limited numbers of markets. It received various facelifts and updates to be up to date with the competition. The several special editions were also offered during its prolonged production span. The car is used in motorsports, notably winning championship in the FIA GT1 World Championship, Super GT, and in various GT3 racing series including the GT World Challenge. It is well received among enthusiast and automotive publications as well. British Motor magazine Top Gear named it as one of the most incredible cars of any kind ever built due to its exceptional performance and partially given at an affordable price. Despite being one of the fastest production cars, it has won numerous notable accolades such as the World Performance Car of the Year, among many others. Between 1969 and 1974, and again between 1989 and 2002, Nissan produced a high-performance version of its Nissan Skyline Coupe, the Skyline GT-R. This car is proven to be iconic for Nissan, achieving much fame and success on the road and in motorsports. Well, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new in this video. I hope you watched till the end and subscribed. I'll see you next time. Bye.